they're organized on a more less frequent basis. And Malaysia doesn't have that big a following, so they like to just see whether there are any questions that we have. People don't know the crypto market as much in Malaysia. So we set up this discussion more for you all to understand about SafeNetwork, because Harjun and I, we are okay. We know most of what we need to know. We are not technical, but we know what's going on in the background. So feel free to ask him questions. But the one question he cannot answer is the launch date. Everything else, I think he should be able to answer. Him already smiling, so sorry to break your heart. Okay. So yeah, so we're going to call him now, and then we'll speak to him. Right?
Hi there.
Hey Doug, can you see us?
Yeah, I can see and I can hear my own voice coming back quite a lot as well.
Can you hear us now?
Yeah, there's a bit of an echo going.
Let me reduce the volume.
Hi, Da. Wong here.
So this is
how it works. Because of the speaker system, and also we are using a mic, will be
as you're speaking,
I'm gonna put it over here.
All right, that sounds like a plan. Good stuff.
So Doug, you've got about 30 minutes to speak to us about your marketing plans. After which we'll allow them to ask you questions, if there's anything. If that's okay with you?
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah.
Right.
I was just kick off.
All right, all yours.
Awesome. Well, hello everybody. Thanks for coming out on I think it's a Saturday night. There's quite a big echo, so I'll just keep speaking and try and speak over that. So I think the purpose today really is just to say hello, just to introduce myself partly, but also to see how things are going over there and to give you a little bit of an update about what's been going on over here in a pretty rainy Scotland, it has to be said, today. So I think I'll go through a few subjects and we'll keep it fairly informal if that's okay, and just ask questions as and when. Obviously I'm not from a tech dev background, so I will neatly sidestep any technical questions so that I don't drop anyone in it and try to explain something inadequately. Okay, so let's kick off. One of the things that I think a lot of people are very interested in at the moment is the exchange situation. So we might as well just kind of touch on that straight off. I think hopefully all you guys are on the forum and you've had a look at the marketing plans for H1 going forwards. One of the things that we did call out was we've got an intention of going to more exchanges this year, trying to get the main Safe listed in a few different places. There have been, obviously the environment is changing fairly quickly on that front, just generally within the cryptocurrency landscape. So just to give you a little bit of an update on that, we had one exchange that was set to list at the end of January, but unfortunately it's been delayed indefinitely at their side. I can't really go into details of that, but hopefully that will sort itself out one way or the other. But in the meantime, just the message to pass to you is that we are looking and we're actively engaged in conversations at the moment with about 5 or 6 other exchanges. Now, the process takes time, inevitably. Part of the reason for that is because it's very important to us that we ensure the credibility of these exchanges. And we've got to look after the community going forwards. It's a fairly obvious thing to say, but it probably bears repeating. We also need to, from our own perspective, make sure that these companies, to the extent they can be, are well established, and we're comfortable if we're going to be pursuing them for listing the coin. And we're also another key part of this strategy is looking at making sure that we list across multiple jurisdictions for obvious reasons. All sorts of regulatory things going on in different places, and we've got supporters of the project from all around the world. So I just wanted to touch on that up front because I suspect that will be a question, and it's something that a lot of people are interested in. So more news to come on that, I would hope, very soon, but we are looking at that going forwards. The next thing that's maybe interesting in particular for a lot of people, which is kind of slightly connected, is the ERC20 position. And I don't know, from like a show of hands, how many of you are looking at the forum regularly? Are many of you going to that on a regular basis? No? Okay, so there's a little bit of conversation going on around that and looking at whether or not...
sorry.
Yeah, you were asking now, there's a question, right?
Question, right?
Yeah, I was just asking how many people are regular...
You mean going to the forum, check updates?
Updates.
Yeah.
I think me and Havinder over here, we go into the forum every morning before we broadcast.
So we do share the weekly updates. So at least once a week, they probably read the weekly updates. And yeah, I think probably the marketing updates are fine, but when it gets a bit too technical, people might not follow as much. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's great. That's kind of the feedback I was looking for. One of the questions that I have for you guys going forwards is when it comes to the weekly updates. I mean, we really see that as a key part of the week. Where we can update the community about what's going on and what the plans might be, and put out calls to action for various things. If we need help through the community, or if we can provide help to the community, then we can jump into that thread and start to look into that. But one of the things that I've thought about, not just myself, but one of the things that I've certainly been aware of since starting, is that for people with a non-developer background, of who I, as I've said, am one, and by the sounds of it, a lot of you are also in the same boat, then some of that information perhaps is a little too technical going forwards. It was a comment I think came on the forum last week, possibly, and something that we're definitely looking at is working out how can we, what's the best way to put this, dumb it down is probably the easiest way to put it, without being patronising, but I think for people like myself who just want to understand, what's the practical importance, what the team been working on, and why is it important, why is the resource being allocated to that place, etc. going forward. So one of the ideas that we're really keen on is looking at trying to produce more video content going forwards. You should hopefully see us start to take steps down on that in the next couple of weeks. We would look to get data as valuable as possible for everybody. So hopefully that kind of touches on that. I think in terms of the forum, obviously we're on it. I know they're feeling well. Checking it before you brush your teeth. To be honest, whilst I'm brushing my teeth, that's pretty common as well. So it is a fantastic resource. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. I appreciate that some people will use it more than others, but the default place is obviously to check out the forum if possible. The next thing to touch on, I guess, is really just a feel for what's going on in the community. If you're not on that forum, you maybe don't see quite as much of what's taking place. I mean, there's an incredible amount of work going on in the wider community. One of the things that for me personally, anyway, I'm really excited by some of the projects that are coming through in recent times, specifically because of their, I think they have the potential to capture the public appetite in a way that maybe has been, well, in a way that we can all build upon. So when you look at something like Shane Armstrong's Safe CMS, which is the simplest way to describe it is basically a WordPress on this new decentralized internet. I think that's hugely powerful, and I think the more we can get this kind of user interface to the technology so that people like myself can use it, then that's when we start to really dig in and get this popular engagement going forwards. there's a question: is there an estimate how much? Oh, sorry, the question's gone off the screen. I think it was a question about timescales, was it, and progress? Yeah. Okay, so the question obviously always comes up. The project has been going now for a long time, 2006. So in terms of timescales, I think our position on that is, I'm afraid it's pretty much the same as it's always been. That it's very hard for us to estimate timescales at all and stick to those timescales. Historically, there have been attempts to put timescales out, but the problem is that a lot of what has been carried out is work, research into technical problems that have never been solved before. So, number one, you don't know how long it takes to solve that particular problem. Number two, once you have solved it, you then need to test it. You don't know what bugs and what issues will inevitably come out of the fact that you've created this new thing. And that's just standard software development, as everybody I'm sure is aware. So there's a whole number of different factors going on. The one thing I would say is, when it comes to timescales, although we can't say, look, a week on Tuesday we're going live, which is, I just have to say, we're not. Believe me, if we were able to say that, there's one thing that certainly me wearing a marketing hat, but everybody in the company would be doing, and that is going out and shouting it from the rooftops, because we really need to get everybody aware once we get to that stage. But yeah, all I can say is that with the weekly updates that we put out every Thursday, you can see, if you're a developer, you can go and have a look at GitHub. Hopefully you can start to see some of the monthly reports. Sarah is putting out excellent kind of top-level summaries about activities that have been going on during the week, and we'll continue to do that. At the moment, we're in the process of how much coding left until Alpha 3, 50%, 60%. Sorry, I can't answer that. I don't know. I don't think it's a percentage thing going forwards. You can see that conversation going on the forum, though. The question is, basically, as I've said, once we can have a plan for the work that's got to be carried out, but until that plan is put in action, I think that Mike Tyson had the best phrase, which was, everyone's got a plan until you're punched in the face. And it's just about, we've got to get the stuff delivered and then test it and then see where we go from there. All I can say is that everything is moving forwards. It's significantly moving forwards, and the evidence of that, I think, is in the weekly dev updates, which is why they're so critical, really, to have a look at. So if there are things in those weekly updates that don't make sense, what I would be keen for everybody there to do is to let me know, to let the team know, and say, look, this information isn't giving us information, what we need to go forwards. Unfortunately, we can't give percentages, we can't give times, set dates going forwards, as I say, but you can get a feel for how far we're moving and which direction we're moving in, which I'm happy to say is the right one. So the next point that I was going to touch on, I think, is ERC20. So there has been some commentary on the forum about whether or not we move to a system of ERC20 in order to facilitate more trading of maintained coin going forwards. And in terms of ERC20, there's a whole number of different things going on here. What I can tell you is that I think internally have kind of looked at this topic really since probably middle 2017. The fact that we haven't done something on it immediately, I think, is for a number of reasons. And the reasons are that there is a level of complexity here that I believe, and my understanding is that it's slightly more than what popular opinion could be about it. It's obviously, we've seen other projects do it. Storage, I'm still never quite certain how to pronounce the name, but I know they took them about 3 months, and I think it took them 3 months in total because of the nature of having a widely distributed coin across a number of different exchanges. So as a result of that, you need to give them notice, they need to sort out things at their end, you've also got to communicate your own coin holders and everything going forwards. What I can say is that if we were to carry out work to go down that route, has not been a decision made either way on this. If we were to carry out work to go down that route, there would be resources required to be able to do that. So we have to be in a position whereby we can say, okay, well, let's either pull some resources off something we're working on, which obviously is moving us toward getting live, or look at getting somebody in to have a look at it. And then we have a whole number of questions, just from a business perspective. I think it makes sense. It is a question in the sense of there is obviously a multi-million dollar amount which would be moving into smart contracts. We need to make sure those smart contracts were correct, obviously. I would not be fully confident that the team would be able to, but we start going into contractors, and then just another risk fact. But it's not something just random. We'll do it, be done 2 weeks on June. It is a fair premise and a project needs to be placed to get roots. I think David has commented on the forum that it doesn't necessarily, he's not really in favour of it at the moment, but his mind's open. And I think that's generally our view as well. One of the reasons we were looking at going down the ERC20 route was with the increase in transaction fees. On Bitcoin network in particular, that was a big issue. That issue seems to be a lot better now. I think you would all agree. It's not to say it won't happen again, though. Another consideration on that, I think, is the fact that if we went to ERC20, is ERC20 actually going to be the right thing? You know, in 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be. There might be something else that comes out which is better. There might be a competing standard on Ethereum, or there might be another platform. There might be Waves or whatever. One of the risks I think that we have to take into account as well is that Ethereum has had obviously scaling issues. You know, it's blockchain technology always have scaling issues, and I think that one of we just need to look back at CryptoKitties back in, what was that, November? That was pretty bonkers at the time. I think it was fascinating to see the impact of something that actually started to get popular within a wider community. Sorry, I saw a question pop up, but for some reason it's not on my screen anymore. Let me just check and see whether I can find. Sorry, could you retype the question, please? I'm not sure, or it seems to have disappeared. So, and since hopefully better of the ERC20 is safecoins. Well, nice try. If I can say that, yes, absolutely. Obviously, it's going to be better than absolutely. Yeah, but it's good. So, at these times we need to just. Oh, you can't hear? The line's bad. Can you hear me now? Is it any clearer now? Yeah. If I keep speaking, somebody can tell me whether or not it's. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So in terms of progress and timescales and updates and all that good stuff, which we all want to know. So the one thing I can say, I suppose, about timescales that's clearer to me now, after being involved with Made Safe, what we're looking at, I guess in many ways, just to say, we all know Alpha 2. I think if we don't, we're on Alpha 2. The next release is Alpha 3, and this is, whilst it's a very kind of techy developer exciting thing, it's actually exciting for all of us because this is a really key part of the whole process towards live. So once we get to Alpha 3, the stage after that can help repeat. Sorry. Can you hear what? Yeah. Oh, right, okay. Sorry, yes, I will repeat. Sorry, I didn't pick that up. So, we're currently on Alpha 2. That's okay. We're currently on Alpha 2. The important thing, I guess, in terms of timescales going forwards is that Alpha 3 is really quite an exciting stage for the release. So that is the next stage. The reason it's exciting is it might not look exciting for your average user who's non-technical, etc. But it's an exciting thing for developers in particular, because they can then see what's happening. It's becoming less decentralized at that stage. After that, we're moving to Alpha 4, and Alpha 4 it's a bit more than this, but it's basically just adding storage to the network that's been built upon with Alpha 3. And we've added storage different times before. Historically, I don't know how many people have been around the project for a while, but we did have a system out running in the wild for a couple of days on hundreds of nodes. So we've done that. We've added storage before. So once we get to that sort of stage, then that's a pretty big technical challenge that has been achieved. Not to belittle anything that's happened already, because all of it is an incredibly big technical innovation and challenge that's already been achieved. I think one of the ways that we can see that, I suppose, something that gives me comfort about the way that the technology is developing and progressing at this point in time is actually related to one of the things that took place this week, which I think was shared on the WhatsApp channel for the meetup group, which is the partnership with Identilet. So there was a blog post went out about this, and also Medium, we tweeted it out. So hopefully everybody managed to pick it up one way or the other. But I think it's really interesting because what I think this shows is that companies are now starting to realise that the SafeNetwork and the technology that we've built is actually has huge potential within commercial, like enterprise application as well. So it's the public network. The public network is and always will remain, crucial for us. It's the whole ethos behind the company. We want to go out and change the world in that sense. But the fact that other companies are now starting to look at this is really interesting, because they can effectively run their own private safe networks within enterprises. At that stage, there's a little stuff around managed authentication, so they can have auditability of who the individuals are within the network using it. They can make sure it's decentralized within their organization, larger enterprise organization going forwards. So it's a I suppose a seal of approval from the commercial world, and we have this interesting dynamic, I guess, between Made Safe and the SafeNetwork, the project. It's come up a little bit on the forum. It's probably worth mentioning here as well. What we're really trying to do is distinguish between the two brands. So, as you can see, I'm branded up as everybody is with SafeNetwork. We understand that there's widespread knowledge within that, as are you. There's widespread knowledge of Made Safe from the fact that we've been around the scene for such a long time, and obviously the coin, Made Safe coin as well. But really, we have the feeling that for SafeNetwork to become global, to break across into popular opinion, then and awareness, we all need to be talking about the same thing going forwards. And the difficulty is that we do have Made Safe, which is a for-profit company, albeit largest shareholder being a charitable foundation, but we are building the technology at the moment within the SafeNetwork. But the whole point is that everybody around the world will be building the SafeNetwork and will be using it. It's pointless, basically, if we are building this and it's purely for ourselves. So I would really appreciate it from marketing and from a brand point of view if we talk about the SafeNetwork going forwards. We try to do this on social media. I appreciate some of you folk will different social media channels that you may be following and talk about. But if we're able to do, hashtag SafeNetwork, and if we're writing blogs, talk about the SafeNetwork and everything else, then we can start to separate the two in a way that hopefully will be useful for everybody going forwards. And also the other thing to remember is, at the moment, the reality is everybody that's involved in this project is really there at the starting point of something. The whole point of this is not that this community stays this size or only grows by a factor of 10 or 100 or 1,000. This has to be global. This has to be massive. The whole point of it is that we need to create this public utility for mankind going forward. That's the way I always think about it. Maybe I'm very ideological about it, but this is not something we can mess around with. But the point is that we're here at the start, relatively speaking. 4 years ago or so was when I started getting involved with this. The community's going to grow massively. So let's get them on board now. Once they come on one by one, so they all understand which way we're going and how to refer to things. So that is that's the Identilect partnership. I think that's an important thing going forwards. Once, in terms of exciting things within the community as well, obviously the meetups. Meetups is a huge part of what I really want to get into and involved going forward. So I just have to say kudos to you guys. You are running meetups. You've got people in a room on a Saturday night discussing the SafeNetwork. It's awesome. It's brilliant to see. Over the years we've had a number of meetups around the world, but there's always been a little bit of a I suppose not a tension, but a friction between when's the project going to launch and what can we speak about at meetups and what can we do going forwards to rebuild the project and awareness of it. And from my point of view, I want to do everything that we can at the missing the Man U Liverpool game. All right, well that's I didn't even know that was on. I'm afraid it's Six Nations rugby over here, so which I'm going to have to miss as well. But anyway, sorry, I've lost my chain of thought now. What were we talking about? Oh yes, we're talking about meetups. So around the world, what I want to do is and not just me, but I want to make sure that we are all singing from the same hymn sheet in terms of having access to materials, in terms of knowing what these updates look like, in terms of basically empowering people around the world to be able to set up meetups and to be able to share speakers, to be able to share materials. So I think you've probably seen on the forum over the past few weeks, we have built up a thread which talks about people that want to be organisers in different places. And absolutely, you are a key part of that going forward. So everybody in this room, together with the fine work that's been carried out for organising things, missing football games notwithstanding. So my message, I think, is really just to say that, look, I'm listening, we are listening. If there's stuff we can do to help you build your meetup, if that's in terms of trying to find joint resources.
Over here, when we were organizing this event, we had some issues with, say, platforms, brochures, materials from Safe. So it would be great to say we can have a package from Safe where we can use for future meetup.
Okay, so are you talking physical things like t-shirts, stickers, I don't know, mugs, stuff like that? Or are you talking material content for presentations? So collateral, so physical things basically for people to, or content as well, and material. So okay, so all of that.